So, a bit of an introduction to today's podcast. Today we're with Mike Maguire, owner of Riverside Shutters, based in Chessington, and also you are one of the main faces of checkertrade.com.
I am indeed.
So Mike, you've been successfully running your trade business since 2006. I'm keen to hear about your entrance to the industry of what you do.
Okay, so I mean, Riverside as a business has been running since 2006. It was originally founded by a man called Jerry Dyer, who now runs a successful YouTube channel called Big Jet TV. So
Big Jet TV.
Big Jet TV, it's an aviation channel. So I bought the company from Jerry in 2017 after his battle with cancer.
Jeez.
So I moved back to London where my son was born, 2005.
Where were you living when you went in London?
I was in Devon actually at the time. Okay. Yeah, so I had a contract with the Ministry of Defence, building officers' quarters at RAF Chivner. So anyway, after AJ was born, moved back to London. I'm a carpenter by trade, was jobbing around in London, but working as a carpenter in London, as many people will know, is very different to working in the countryside.
Yeah.
You know, the luxuries of working in the countryside and commuting and leaving your tools on site is very different here in London. So I looked for other avenues of work. It led me into the shutter industry. And as I say, I worked with Jerry for about 4 years before he got cancer. And then I bought the company from him in 2017.
Is he okay now?
He's okay now, yeah.
That's good.
He's doing his own thing with the YouTube stuff. So
maybe we can have a chat with Jerry at some point.
Yeah, we'll reach out to him. He's a character, old Jerry. Yeah, you have to check him out online. Nice. So we took over from Jerry's company, the original Riverside, and we rebranded it completely, made it our own. Yeah, and we've been running it successfully. We've grown it quite considerably since we took it over. But you know, we've had some hurdles, as everybody else has, along the way with COVID, staffing, logistics, all sorts of things.
So tell me about. So you've got obviously shutters.
Yeah.
And you've got garden.
We've got garden rooms, which is with a friend of mine. We've got a business partner with that one. So that was basically a lockdown business. So with the shutters, everything comes in from China, South Africa. So it's reliant on importation into the country. And during COVID, that was completely stopped, basically. So in order to keep cash flow moving and just stay alive, really, we looked into other avenues of things we could do during lockdown. And it was apparent to us that all the builders merchants were thriving. They were still selling timber and materials. And we started off by building a bar for a friend of ours.
A bath or a bar?
A bar.
A bar, like a home bar.
Yeah, a home bar in the garden, yeah. So we started with that. And it just led from there, really. As we sort of went on our journey through lockdown with garden rooms, it led us into a sustainable way of building them. And the reason it did that is because the timber that was arriving on site during lockdown due to demand was really poor quality. And we often found ourselves having to send it back, and then there'd be a lead time of waiting for it to come back. So we thought, well, look, what other options are there? And it led us to a steel yard in Essex and our new suppliers, which is a 75% recycled steel frame and a ground screw foundation. So the carbon footprint on our builds is considerably less than what it was before. I mean, given that we're carpenters and we make our living working with timber, it seems odd that we would favour a steel frame. But when you think about it, as somebody that enjoys working and machining timber, it stands to reason that in this day and age where we're absolutely, devastating our forests at a rapid rate, that we look for more sustainable ways to do the same thing. And steel is easily recyclable, it's stronger, it's fireproof, you get more internal head height. And concrete has a huge carbon footprint. So it was a natural progression for us, and it kind of set the basis and the foundation of our ethos going forward with Riverside Garden Rooms being a sustainable garden room builder.
Cool. So now I suppose from COVID to now, what was it, 4 years, roughly, right? I know with obviously getting containers and stuff over, it was challenges.
Well, we formed a syndicate in COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with competitors within our industry, which was kind of a tenacious thing that...
What, so like buying groups? Or
Yeah,
wicked.
Because containers went up 3 times.
Yeah, I remember my first one I bought, it's my biggest toolbox. I think it was 20 foot, one trip, I got it for like 1,600 quid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they went up to like 4,000.
Yeah. Well, and more in lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7,000-8,000.
Yeah. Because I'm going to start doing.
So we were bringing 30 footers and paying 7,000, 8,000 pounds.
And then would you chop them down to 10 footers? Because they're worth more money as 10 footers.
20 footers is what we're back to now.
Yeah.
And we fill those up, and the turnaround's quicker at that. In actual fact, a 30 footer works out more cost effective if you fill it.
Yeah.
But obviously you've got to fill it.
Didn't that boat
The Evergreen?
block
the Suez?
Yeah.
So we had that, and now we've got the war that's going on, which means if things aren't good at the Suez Canal when the boats arrive, they're basically turned around and sent down South Africa and back up the long way, and we just simply get another invoice.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this before, and you'd have to just say, well, the materials haven't arrived because literally.
Well, yeah, it causes massive, logistical problems with our booking schedules, and ongoing orders thereafter. Because if you get a container backed up, gets sent away from the Suez, has to do the long trip round, it delays it, and then the one coming behind that container is allowed through the Suez. It all backs up, and you end up with congestion. And you've got too much to fit in a short period of time, and you end up with disgruntled customers. So that's been a whole process. I won't go into it now, but we found a way of tuning that and making it work without just simply bringing on more fitters.
Do you know what? It's
and a lot of that's communication.
Yeah.
It's about, and also something.
Seems like quite a difficult turbulence, isn't it? Like on your buy-in, it's not the easiest thing to.
It is, but you know what? I found as soon as we implemented this little thing, it eased the situation with our customers dramatically. And what that was, there's a website which is Track My Boat, Track the Vessel, right? And as soon as we are given the vessel's details from our logistics, we can export that and send it to the relevant customers on that list, and then they can track the boat themselves.
Yeah.
So when you call them up, you don't feel like you're necessarily.
They're in it with you.
They're in it with you. They can see it, right?
No, it's good. It's managing expectations as well, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
Cool, man. So everyone knows how you got into the industry then. Obviously, 2006 to 2024 has seen massive change from being, when I first started out as a tradesman, everything's changed. So I've got a few questions here to ask you. Pick a number between 1 and 7. You can't look at the questions. So you have to look at the football pitch.
Let's go with 4.
Right, this is a good one. What's your advice to someone who wants to go from working alone, so from being a one-man band, to becoming a business owner with employees? What should they be aware and what should they consider? So obviously you went from being a carpenter from Devon to working in London, to working with someone in London, to buying his business.
Yeah,
to them.
And I think that's what I did. That what you've just mentioned now, I was a carpenter that moved into the shutter industry.
Yeah.
Well, most people in the window covering industry are not carpenters. Most people come from many walks of life: interior designers, curtain makers that have added shutters. So having carpentry skills at my disposal meant that
You're precise.
Well, my installations very quickly became known as different to everybody else's. I was the first company to research Titan low-profile handles to allow us to get the symmetry of the installation closer to the window. So it's things like that.
That is precision, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So there are big companies. I won't mention any names, but there's big companies.
You got to mention the name. No, I'm joking.
So the bigger companies within my industry that employ on the mass, they will employ anybody that can use a tape measure and a drill.
Yeah.
Because as far as they're concerned, that's all required to put shutters in. Yeah. And it couldn't be further from the truth.
So if we talk business then, obviously we spoke briefly earlier, business is a thing that goes around family life, right? So if I could give any advice to a one-man band that was looking to maybe go and employ people, I think the first thing you need to do is be in the right place in your personal life to be able to put in the extra hours that you have to do as a business owner that not everybody sees behind closed doors.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think also you need to surround yourself with people that see your vision.
Yeah.
Like, you can't expect people to just jump on board with you and your dream because that's just ego driven. But if you can,
as in employees need to see the employer's vision, yeah,
because if I was just to turn around to somebody and say, "Come and work for me," their response would be, "Why should I work for you? Why are you better than me?"
Yeah,
you try and pitch yourself as a difference. It's like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. I think there's a gap in the industry, in our industry.
Yeah,
whether it's what you do, gas, heating. There's something you
and
did.
electrics and building.
All sorts, yeah. I wasn't putting it down, mate. I wasn't playing it down.
No, but you know what? I had to say that, guys, because the thing is with, like, I don't know. So we've got a cup over there that says Rygas on there, right? Rygas is the original.
That's what I remember.
Exactly. And you know what? I don't want to lose that. Like Adidas, they, everyone knows their original logo. Then they changed it. Then they kind of changed it back. Rygas is. I love the name Rygas. Yeah. The only thing with it is it kind of pigeonholed us so people think we sold gas. Yeah. Like actually the gas.
But isn't that what you? Oh, right.
No, we didn't. This is what I'm saying.
You're gas engineers.
So we were boiler engineers or plumbers, but actually at the time I originated from carpentry.
Right.
And then I went to British Gas and done British Gas.
That's where the Jesus look comes from.
That's it, mate. Yeah, that's it, man. I'm going more for Tarzan these days.
Oh, Tarzan. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Rygas. So the thing is with it is we had to change our name because the amount of job opportunities we lost from electrics or building because of people thinking we were gas engineers.
How do you convince customers of your quality and your difference to other competitors that might just be going for mass volume?
So I think like the stuff that you can do visually on your branding, to sort of like we're members of the Guild of Master Craftsmen, we're members of the BBSA, which is the British Blind and Shutter Association. These are really trusted and validated members of the community. Not like there's other things that could be manipulated. But to become a member of the Guild of Master Craftsmen, they send a representative to you. They check that you're who you are and that you carry the accreditations that you say you carry. And it's all verified before you get that. So if I'm a carpenter or you're a plumber, do you have the City and Guilds qualifications that you say you've got? Be proof of your work, and so on and so forth. Each industry that you're in these days, especially because of social media, has become hypersaturated. Everyone positions themselves as the number one guy or girl in their industry. Best hairdressers, best plumbers, best carpenters, but until you can actually nail down on a particular thing that you solve, be it for us, security and blackout, are the two things that we find answer the biggest questions for our customers. So in doing that, we've become specialists in blackout. We've partnered with a sleep expert. We've partnered with people within the security industry, Banham most recently, which
they're based around here.
Banham Locks, we've partnered with them recently.
Okay, so for people that are listening, Rye Group are one of the main sponsors of AFC Wimbledon, and I know at one point they were potentially going to do something business-wise with AFC Wimbledon from a partnership or sponsorship label. So they're only based up the road.
Yeah.
They've been going for a long time. 100 odd years.
Yeah.
But I think they're based in Wandsworth.
They are, and they specialise in locks and security.
I mean, they're good at what they do.
Yeah. But they don't offer the latest addition to the Riverside brand, which is the Shutter Guard, which is a plantation-style security shutter from South Africa. So
that's strange, isn't it? So you said earlier on, you said South Africa and China are where you buy your stuff from.
Correct, yeah.
So China, obviously, I know, they manufacture a lot, but South Africa, I didn't know that they would. Why South Africa? What's their intro for it?
I think they're big within my industry. They're big within the.
Is that because of the fact that it's dangerous out there?
The crime rate, yeah. So home security is a massive industry over there.
Because I'll tell you for what, and obviously me and you have been David Lloyd together, and there's a chap, a South African, who I see most mornings, and I'm always talking to him, and he said in South Africa, he said if they want to get into your house, they'll go through the roof, literally, like they'll take the roof out.
It's probably gone that way because the rest of the house is so fortified, But we're worlds apart from that here. If you go to areas like Wandsworth, Fulham, Putney, Wimbledon, I went to this morning, these people are being burgled on a daily basis. Neighbours, the guy I went to today, his neighbour was burgled over the weekend. They stole his car.
Do you know what? Can I quickly go off subject here? And I do this a lot, but it comes into my head now. Have you ever thought about getting into van security?
I think it'd be too much of a spin-off, unrelated spin-off to Riverside and what we do. And going back to Sarah's question earlier, I think when you differentiate yourself, I think it needs to kind of be relevant.
Yeah.
We're a shutter company first and foremost. Carpenters in the background. That's our foundation. So security shutters, roller security shutters, are a natural progression to our brand. So they're relevant. I think for suddenly veer off into something totally different, it's not what I would do anyway.
Because there's a company out there, and he must be some sort of a welder or fabricate.
Putting the slam locks on and stuff
and
like
the
that.
cages, he's putting a cage inside the van.
They're thriving at the moment, because of everyone else's losses.
Yeah.
We've had all of our vans armour plated.
Okay.
We had each of our vans has all been broken into at one point over the years.
And
Have you had any vans broken into?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
you know what it is? It's like the tools aren't even a lot of money.
No.
It's just like the fact that you just need to then get your van.
It's so easy for them to break in, particularly in Ford vans.
Yeah, Ford, they're terrible.
It's so
for
easy.
it.
They make a little hole and they by the lock.
Yeah.
And then they go in with the screwdriver.
And that's why you see everyone with a Ford, they're driving around with a little metal plate.
Correct, yeah.
We've probably just been grip filled to it.
No, they're riveted on if they're done properly. But it's just too easy to break into these vans.
Turn this down. Right, so there's somebody in the audience that, let me just turn this down that keeps on interrupting. So
sounds like me.
Let's hear from Sarah Quartermain. Sarah, you may speak.
Thank you. I was going to say from both of you guys, obviously you both do sales, right? I don't know are you still really hands-on sales?
I am, yeah. That's kind of mainly what I do at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's obviously something as well that Ryan is very hands-on sales-wise still because he's good at it, right? And that's a really hard...
Well, that's nice of you to say that.
It's only because we're on camera. And it's a really hard role to fill, for someone else, because you've got to read people, you've got to understand the person that you're obviously visiting, you've got to think about price, you've got to think about how do you convey the message of your brand and why they should go with you, and that's not something that everyone has. How have you found current market, people's purse strings being tighter? How have you found being all on your shoulders, and have you found any tricks or tips for people that they can use to expand their company without it being on themselves in terms of all the sales?
People don't want to be sold to anymore, right? Social media, you're being sold to all the time. So my approach is listen to the customer's needs and just keep listening, let them speak about their problems, relate to their problems, and then position the product where the problem lies. And don't talk about money, don't talk about the sale. They know there's a cost. You wouldn't be there. So it's about making yourself memorable.
Connecting as the person, right?
For sure, especially if you're the first man in the door. Because often, look, if we've been recommended by a friend or a family member, normally they're just coming to us. But if it's just an inquiry that comes in through the email, there could be anything from 3, 4, 5 other people quoting. And if you're the first man in the job, you've got to be remembered. And hopefully everyone that comes after talks about the usual sales tactics. We've been going this long. We've got an offer on. Me. We've got. What we try and do is the total opposite of that, and actually speak to the customer and position ourselves as the heroes in their own journey.
Like with technology now, social media, obviously this is why we're all here today with the podcast.
Yeah.
Is there any technology that's helped Riverside Shutters be able to keep their costs down on the sales process, maybe more remotely, maybe more precise, maybe from a quotation or acceptance point of view? Is there anything there that people should be looking out for moving forward with the sales process and being able to establish your brand?
That sounds like a bit of a magic pill scenario, that one. I wish there was. I think
it's out there. It's out there for our industry.
Yeah.
But again, obviously, the way that we buy products is a bit different to how you source your materials.
For us, I think the next stage to improve margins.
But hang on, sorry, we'll go back.
Is that what you mean?
We go back here. You said it earlier. The fact that you give your customers the tracking for their container, that's definitely something that's new within the industry.
That's sales through the door, I guess. But is there anything that you can you measure remotely? Do you trust customers to measure for things?
Yeah, so we tried a little bit of that in lockdown, actually, with the shutters. If somebody had a very straightforward window, just a square rectangle window, we were doing virtual surveys. Husband and wife set up, whatever. One of them holds the phone, the other one holds the tape. There's normally an argument about that. about who's better with the tape measure.
I'll ask Sarah about tape measures, mate.
But anyway, so that kind of worked, and you give them a bit of discount, even if it's 5%, 10%. They really, really appreciate that, and they feel like a part of kind of doing the job themselves. And then they can choose to either hire you to go around and install it when it arrives, or do a self-installation. And we did some instructions around that. But in all honesty, that's not something we continued with after lockdown. I'm not sure why, actually, to be quite honest with you. We just didn't carry it on.
Yeah, I think we do quite a lot of that now to avoid going for estimates, to be able to get the amount of volume of work that we need. Otherwise, going out to everything all the time is difficult. But there's always that bit of complexity because you don't get to survey it, and whose fault is it if the product's the wrong size?
And it can be a can of worms. I think for us, we've been quite lucky with our volume of leads coming from south of the river, being Berkshire, Hampshire, some of Kent, and South London. But when we get stuff that's further afield, Essex and North London, we try and sort of validate the lead and get as much over the line as we can before we go to the job, just so we're not wasting each other's time. And we're upfront with that. We say we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our own time.
Yeah, and also you can keep your costs down low anyway if you've wasted time's money at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for you to go somewhere, spend an hour or two, there's obviously naturally there's going to be a cost somewhere along the line that if you can cut that from not wasting time going there, then that's a good thing,
massively. Yeah. Especially when you think of central London.
Yeah. Oh, mate, you can waste half a day.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That's another thing actually that I kind of want to go on to, but free estimates, right? That I reckon is in our lifetime that people would go to places free of charge and provide a quote.
Do you still do free estimates?
We do free estimates, yeah. And that's why the trouble is you have to be the person that does it has to be so on point. Otherwise, literally, you could lose a ridiculous amount of time, money, and effort.
100%.
But I reckon back in the day, people obviously, I know some companies have started doing it again actually, where they'll charge for a quote, and then obviously if they go ahead,
they give it back.
They'll give it back. Yeah. It actually happened to me last week. I went somewhere to look at a van being racked out, and they gave me a price which was good of them, and it was a CAD drawing they would have done, and they don't give the CAD drawing out until you paid, a deposit, which I make them right for, because why are they going to go?
There's a fair bit of work involved with doing a CAD though, right?
But probably not as much as what. Not really, I don't think, because it's all done from. It's all done from a software, right?
Yeah.
But actually, for me to say price of refurbishment, that could take me 4 hours.
Yeah.
CAD drawing on the back of the van is going to take 4 minutes, maybe an hour. It's not going to take probably as long. But I think free estimates is a thing that I think back in the day people would charge for quotes or estimates, and there is companies out there that are doing that, and I think it's interesting.
That's it's on that point actually, Brian. We still do a paper quote at the moment where we go to site with a sheet that's filled out and brought back to the office, and then that's put through the system and generates a quote. But that process, is probably 30% of what me or my staff members do is writing quotes. So we're currently building a system called Blind Matrix, which will have all of our suppliers in one place, and it will generate a quote straight from an iPad. So when you leave the property, the customer gets their quote straight away.
So in answer to Sarah's question, you are doing stuff that's changing what you currently do.
I think you've got to, but it's an investment. It's not something that you should, unless you're coming into a new business with a load of money behind you, or an investor, an investment into that sort of software costs thousands.
So do you draw on the paper all the millimeter measurements in the drawing?
I created a grid system on and we just print them off. So
you could do that on the one of these with the pen though, no?
You can, but we use the grid system I created on a sheet, on a PDF, and we print them off. The lads print them off as they need them.
And is that, listen, I might be asking a very silly question, but is it one of them bits of paper that has all the lines already there, or is it like...
No, it's something I built that is, each block represents a window, or when you connect the blocks together, it creates a bay window. You've got the customer's details, email address, the size of the louvers, the colour, and all the different bits that you fill it out as you go. When you bring that to the office, all that information goes into the system and it generates a quote, and we send that out. But it's the inputting of that into the system that's time consuming.
Yeah.
If you measure a big job, it could be 3 sheets.
Yeah.
For one
so
job.
If you could do that electronically,
which we are,
then it can go into whatever the cloud or.
Yeah, and more importantly, you can just hit one button and send that to production.
Yeah.
So I can just send that to China straight from that system.
Interesting. We did touch on it earlier, going from a one-man band to becoming a business owner, right? I think there's pros and cons to both. And I think like your age, your family life, and your head at the time, and even your body, like, because obviously working employed, sometimes is a good thing if you're, for instance, your body is not where it could be. Like, for instance, if you've got an injury, you can maybe be off the tools. I think as a one-man band, that is it. They have to do.
There's pros and cons, isn't there? There's pros and cons. There's the financial gain of growing and having other people doing the hands-on work. There's an interesting book that I recommend for this process. It's called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
The E-Myth.
E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It's quite an old book, but it's really interesting because it talks about service-based businesses and how you structure them. And it's really relevant, right? You've got the manager, the person that actually goes out and does the work. You've got the manager, you've got the entrepreneur. And at the very beginning, you're all of those things.
Yeah, wearing many hats.
Yeah. But in order for the business to grow, you need to stop being on the tools and you need to stop managing and you need to drive the business forward. And that's when you become an entrepreneur and you employ people to do the labour work and you employ somebody else to do the administrative work and logistics.
So here's something I'm going to go on to, right? So 2006 is roughly the time that I started thinking about going out self-employed. In 2006, I was working for British Gas as a service and breakdown engineer, and I enjoyed it. It was a great company to work for, but I wanted to be challenged, right? So it wasn't actually for me being employed. I wasn't unhappy being employed. I just was bored.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go and fit boilers and do plumbing and do electrics and get my hands dirty, basically.
Yeah. Some people are that way. It's just how you're built, right? Our office manager that I told you about, Russell.
Yeah.
We're really pleased that he's coming back to us in January.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, wicked, man.
He left for another job because grass is always greener.
Yeah. I mean, you had a conversation about this, but you got to let him go as well.
Yeah. Which was tricky for me because I thought it was a big box ticked, being Russell because I went through a few office managers and to find somebody that fit with the team as well as he did, and he was so brilliant at the job, to then leave was tricky to deal with. And that's just business, right?
And listen, Russell will be watching or listening this, feeling proud that he's wanted.
And he will. He's a massively valued part of the team.
Good.
And I think every business.
So get him back in now. It was November now. Get him back November. What's the wait till January?
Listen. He's doing the right thing. He's given them notice, and he's going to honour that and come back in January.
So listen quickly, right? Jumping forward. I know we're on a bit of a time constraint as you're a busy man and you've got loads of security to go and save London and Surrey with, being self-employed or being and I'm trying to stick to this because there's a question there that we haven't really answered, right? But there's another question underneath this that I think they go hand in hand. With getting a business back in the day, it was easier for me and you to go and find work, right? I find it now
100%,
really obviously it's always been competitive and competition's good because it makes you up your game.
I disagree. I think the competition nowadays is another level.
But I think competition is genuinely, I think it's healthy because otherwise we all get a bit stuck in the mud or get a bit complacent, right? But what my concern now is to get work through the door for someone that is watching this, that going, you know what, I'm a good tradesman, I'm going to go on my own. There is huge risk in the fact that getting the work through the door.
Absolutely.
Because it costs so much money to get work through
Going back to that book I mentioned, right? It's a failure of every great technician to assume they can adopt the role of a business owner because they're a good technician.
Yeah, well, Sarah's got this thing that she says, like, just because, say, for instance, you're a great plumber or you're a great
doesn't mean you can run the company.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't. And I'm probably I like to think, and my experience shows me, that I'm possibly a better entrepreneur than I ever was as a carpenter.
But then what have you had more time doing?
At the moment, I'm at probably.
I was going to say you're going to get to that age now.
Yeah, I will do down the line.
That you've been an entrepreneur or a businessman probably longer than you were a tradesman.
When I was a tradesman, I was working on the tools as a carpenter. I had some really, really high-profile customers that I worked with.
Do you still ever get on the tools?
Very rarely, apart from.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, I do. To be fair,
Yeah.
I do. It's particularly with the garden rooms.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of the summer,
Yeah.
and they got the radio on, banter.
And you can't do both. I've been
You
trying
can't, you
for
can't.
I've been trying for 10 years.
Yeah.
To try and get not back on the tools, but like I'm you're either all in or you're not.
You have to make that distinction
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pivotal point for every business, is when you realise you're done as a technician.
I can see Sarah wants to say something.
No, I was just going to say, it makes me laugh you saying about being on the tools, because you've got like the shiniest toolbox in.
I look after them.
Yeah.
Listen,
No dust.
listen,
Mine's the same these days.
let me tell you this,
There's not
Sarah.
a speck of dust on it.
Listen, if you look after your tools, what do they do for you? They look after you, mate.
Yeah.
I've got some of my tools. I've got a wet vac called Charles. He's
In the
blue.
box.
You named it Charles.
No, he's a Henry, but he's called
Yeah.
Charles, yeah. And I've had him since 2017, yeah. He's wicked, mate. But
That's
he
freaking
looks
when
brand
people
new.
talk about
But
their tools
you know,
like
like,
him.
he cleans himself up after the job and he puts himself back in the van and he goes in there for 5 years and he only really comes out to drain out like fish tanks and
You have to
stuff.
beckon him out, mate.
Mate, he's good.
Yeah.
I've seen a few times people try and use him like as a normal vacuum cleaner. And then what you got to do with these, you got to change the filters. So when
Yeah.
it's wet, and when it's dry. But yeah,
Just quickly though, I need to ask you and Mike both, what is the worst job that you've ever had? Because I always think it's important that you learn from experiences that have happened. What is your worst job you've ever had and why? What went wrong?
can I ask a quick question? How old are you, by the way?
42.
Okay, I was going to say you can go first then because you're older
Yeah.
than me.
Mine comes actually from years ago as an apprentice, based around security. So I think you've got to put your own security, and you are responsible for your own security on building sites, regardless of what the company's procedures might be. And when you know that you're in a dangerous situation, you shouldn't be going up on a roof or you shouldn't be climbing on a scaffold because you know it's unsafe. You need to listen to yourself and not do it, regardless of losing a day's pay if it doesn't please the site foreman. Because I learned the hard way and I fell off a roof. And I'm lucky to be here today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what, mate? Really weirdly, your surname's Maguire. Yeah. My friend is also a Maguire, and he worked for me for a while. I say worked for me, with me, whatever. And he broke his back.
Falling off a roof, yeah.
No,
No,
really.
he climbed in a window, although he was under the influence of alcohol, yeah. But he broke his back and made it back into the industry. Amazing electrician, and now has an asbestos business.
Crime for punishment.
Yeah, something like that's obviously
Yeah.
like it's horrendous. But you're lucky that you got back up and
Yeah, and I
done
think people are actually misled to think that things have changed and they're really strict on it now. Because I've been to places in London for developers installing awnings, and they said, oh, "Don't worry about it, mate. Just go out and go out on the scaffolding," and it's just not safe. And I'm not sending the guys out on the scaffolding. And they're like, well, we can't do the job then. And I'm like, well, I can't do the job then. But inevitably it comes right, but you've got to put your safety first.
Yeah, not pressure. Don't
Don't get
fail
pressured
to
into
pressure.
doing something
Yeah.
you know is unsafe. I think that's
My worst job was repiping my mum and dad's house. Seriously. So,
it?
yeah, I had a chap that was working for me at the time. I was a one-man band, and I was quite new into working for myself, and it was like an old boiler. So I went there. We were going to change it. I was paying for it, being the fact I was 20 years old, wanting to,
Impress.
wanted to repay my parents in some way, shape, or form. And I was looking at this pipe, and it was just different to what I was used to. And I'd only been probably in the industry 3-4 years, so I was pretty new to it, right? And I remember ringing this chap who used to work for British Gas, and he was like, "Oh, hang on," he said, "that pipe's not copper; it's copper mixed with tin." So he said, "You can't repressurize this system." So I was taking a standard boiler out, which was called like a conventional or heat only, and I was putting in a combination boiler. So like converting it, normally about a 2-day job. Sometimes you could do it in a day or so, depending on some aspects. But anyways, so it went from being like a 1-day or 2-day job that I was squeezing in because I was doing quite well at the time. I was busy. I ended up having to repipe the whole house because this stupid pipe had been done everywhere. And the chap that was working for me went sick. and I was like trying to do it.
This was you working with one other at the time.
Yeah. And I was crawling underneath the house, big old void, and plastic pipe was like the new thing. So I had a coil of plastic pipe.
You squeezed through back in those days.
No, I was slim then. Yeah, I only got fat when I only really got fat
when you come off the tools. That's when you.
Yeah. I only probably No, but my mum was helping me with the installation.
The house is being sold soon, and it's just going through. So
no, I repiped it, so the house is sweet as
I was good as new now. Yeah, but it was a stressful process.
It was aggro. Yeah, that was really stressful. Yeah, and not only that, like they were like, Ryan, we need heat and hot water. Like, and I was like, it's like a big job here. Do you know what I mean? And I probably hadn't done a job like it, so.
You bit off more than you could chew.
I've done all right out of it. Yeah, it lasted like 15 years or so. So, right. So, it's been amazing to speak to you. The last question, which I like to always ask people, and obviously I've spoke to a lot of tradesmen in my time, but I do think your industry is quite niche. But then I suppose you have carpenters that kind of do your jobs, right, or builders. What's your favourite tool brand?
For the shutters,
yeah,
I would have to say it's the Mesfix, which is a measuring staff.
Yeah, I'm looking at you go, and I'm thinking I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, Mesfix. yeah.
Mesfix.
Mesfix. MESFIX. I think it's a Swedish company. I think.
Just blowing me out of the water there, isn't he? Like
they're brilliant.
Like I'm thinking like Mesfix. The little peanut inside my head's going. Is he winding me up? Because imagine I'm going, oh mate, really? That's a wicked tool. It didn't exist.
Yeah. Have a look at it. It's a measuring.
What colour is it?
They're like silver metallic with orange ends. So that'd be great for you, mate, for your branding.
I love orange, man.
Yeah.
So what? So Mesfix.
Mesfix is a measuring staff.
Yeah.
So if you're measuring over 3 meters with a tape, they generally bend. They collapse. Plus that arc that you get in the tape means you're not getting an accurate measurement. And I find personally using a laser, sounds strange, but they measure too accurately when you're dealing with discrepancies in a window.
Yeah,
reveal.
tape measures still.
But with the Mesfix, what you can do is you extend it out until it hits the tightest point, and then you drag it down the wall, and it will just collapse to the.
Is it like one of them plastic things around like corners you can get and stuff that like can then mould the wall or?
No, that's more of a scribing tool. So if you were measuring a big bifolding door, 4 meters wide for whatever, an awning outside, you could put this in the reveal and drag it down the wall, and it will find the tightest point, and then you can make your own deductions from that. So it just saves you having 2 people, the embarrassment of asking the customer to help you use a tape measure.
Okay, so listen, I'm never gonna forget that your favourite tool brand is Mesfix. That's a fact.
Yeah.
But I think with you, I said to you earlier on, I think we'll live to fight another day.
For sure, yeah.
Do you have any things now that you want to whack out there to the universe that you're looking to do? So then we can go back in time and be like, do you know what, you said that?
Yeah, I think we want to make home security sexy again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started doing that. I seen you in a
I
Rolls Royce the other day partying, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. I think home security needs to be...
He's off the tools, isn't he?
No, I think home security, it has a massive way to go with regards to the aesthetics of it. You know, when I was looking to secure my bungalow, what was available was too commercial, and it's not something that I wanted on my home. So I just think the products we're offering at the moment, they look much better, and they give you the same security.
Wicked, man. So I think we'll leave it there, mate. And obviously, you said you had some bad news when you come in here. You've had a van have van issues, which no one sees. These dramas behind the scenes today.
Yeah, that's right. It's
so you've got a van off the road now, and you've probably now got to try and either get that van back on the road or have a look at maybe just chopping it.
Possibly,
I've done an engine on a Transit, and I spent so much money. And it's a bit like what happened with boilers. Sometimes you just have to write it off and upgrade, yeah?
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
And if it was me, I probably wouldn't bother putting another engine in. I'd probably bomb it off. Because someone would give you so much money for parts for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just the fact that
it was...
I only
19 plate, you said?
Yeah, and we recently had it wrapped as well. So
that's the bummer,
that's the pain, you know. It's literally
£3,000.
3 months old. So, yeah, I'll have to see, mate. But, yeah, it's part of growing the business, you know.
You got a good mechanic?
Yeah, we use H&L Motors in Twickenham.
There's a little bit of
Shout
free
out
advertising
H&L.
there.
Pay me later. Give me a discount on the engine.
Okay, man. But like I say, we'll definitely do it again sometime.
For sure. Thank you for inviting me on, mate. I've enjoyed it. It's been nice to sort of relive it. We all get caught up in the day-to-day grind, and sort of doing this and go through this process, it kind of makes you realise where you've come from, doesn't it?
Yeah, man.
So
we could spend it. We'll have to do. We'll have to challenge Joe Rogan and like send people to sleep.
Sets the bar up there. He set the bar high. I like it. I like
Sweet,
it.
man.
Nice one,
Thank you, mate.
Pleasure,
Appreciate
brother.
it, man.